Imagine a country with a population of just over 34 million people. Now picture its skyline. You might not expect it to rival global giants in the race to the sky. Yet, according to the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat, CTBUH, Malaysia ranks 4th in the world for the number of skyscrapers over 150 meters. This isn't just a regional anomaly. Malaysia has more of these towering structures than developed nations like Japan, South Korea, Canada, and Australia. Its capital, Kuala Lumpur, boasts more skyscrapers than any other city in Southeast Asia, leaving the skylines of Bangkok, Jakarta, and even the financial powerhouse of Singapore in its shadow. This vertical dominance is immediately striking when you consider that Malaysia's per capita income is a fraction of that of the countries it outbuilds. In 2023, Malaysia's GNI per capita was approximately $11,710, while Singapore's soared past $70,000. This disparity between economic scale and architectural ambition presents a profound mystery. How did a nation of this size construct such a disproportionately vast vertical landscape? What powerful forces, economic, political, and cultural, drove this relentless push skyward? This isn't just a story about architecture. It's a story about a nation's identity, its ambition, and the complex, often contradictory, consequences of building a dream out of concrete and steel. The sheer number of skyscrapers is not merely a statistic. It is a statement of intent, suggesting that for Malaysia, verticality has been a deliberate and powerful tool of national policy and identity projection. To understand Malaysia's vertical ambition, we must first go back to its economic roots. After gaining independence in 1957, the country's economy was heavily dependent on the export of primary commodities like rubber and tin. It was a post-colonial economy, with deep ethnic divisions institutionalized by the British, where Malay communities were largely rural and agricultural. Chinese communities dominated commerce, and Indian communities were concentrated in plantations and professional services. But in the 1970s, a great transformation began. Malaysia embarked on a mission to imitate the success of the 4 Asian tiger economies: South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Singapore. This marked a pivotal shift from an economy reliant on mining and agriculture to one driven by a diversified, multi-sector engine with manufacturing at its core. The 1980s and 1990s were a period of sustained, explosive growth. Fueled by high levels of foreign and domestic investment, particularly from Japan, heavy industries flourished. From 1988 to 1996, Malaysia's economy expanded at an average of 8% annually, a rate second only to China at the time. The results were staggering. Manufactured goods, such as microchips and semiconductors, surged to make up 80% of the nation's exports. Per capita income doubled in just 6 years, from 1990 to 1996. This economic boom provided the financial firepower for the massive infrastructure and development projects that would soon reshape the nation's skyline. This era of transformation was presided over by one central figure, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. His long premiership from 1981 to 2003 was defined by a powerful top-down vision for a modern, industrialized Malaysia. This vision was built on 2 key policy pillars that would have a direct impact on the country's built environment. First was the new economic policy, NEP, implemented from 1971 to 1990. Born from the ashes of the 1969 racial riots, the NEP was more than just an economic plan. It was a profound socio-political project. Its stated goal was to eradicate poverty and restructure society to eliminate the identification of race with economic function. A key objective was the creation of a Bumiputera, ethnic Malay and indigenous entrepreneurial class, through direct state intervention in the economy. This led to the formation of a large public sector and a host of powerful government-linked companies, or GLICs, which would become the primary drivers of Malaysia's most ambitious development projects. The second pillar was the Look East policy, introduced in 1982. This was a conscious ideological pivot away from Malaysia's former colonial masters in the West. It was famously accompanied by a Buy British Last campaign, signalling a clear break. Instead, Malaysia would look to Japan and South Korea as its models for development, seeking to emulate their work ethics, management styles, and technological prowess. As Dr. Mahathir explained, the policy was aimed at dramatically changing the Malay people toward developing a more positive and constructive attitude. This policy directly fostered deep economic and industrial ties with Japanese and Korean firms, who became crucial partners in construction, engineering, and technology transfer, laying the groundwork for the complex megaprojects to come. The skyscraper boom was not an organic outcome of economic growth alone. It was the physical manifestation of this state-led developmental ideology. The economic boom provided the means to build, but these policies provided the motive. Megaprojects became a powerful tool in this psychological nation-building exercise, tangible, highly visible symbols that the Look East and modernization strategies were working, transforming Malaysia into a capable, modern nation on par with its East Asian role models. The buildings were proof of the policy's success. If the Look East policy was the instruction manual, then Wawasan 2020 or Vision 2020 was the grand narrative. Introduced by Dr. Mahathir in 1991, this was the ultimate national project, a 30-year quest for Malaysia to achieve the status of a fully developed country by the year 2020. Crucially, this vision was not purely economic. It was a call for Malaysia to be developed along all the dimensions: economically, politically, socially, spiritually, psychologically, and culturally. To achieve this, Mahathir set an ambitious economic target: for the economy to grow by an average of 7% per year, becoming eightfold stronger by 2020. Such a grand, abstract goal required concrete, powerful symbols. It needed monuments that could visibly embody this national aspiration. Years later, reflecting on this period, Dr. Mahathir himself drew a direct line between this vision of progress and the act of building skyward. When this tower was built, there were no skyscrapers in Kuala Lumpur, he recalled in 2025. But now, Kuala Lumpur is like New York, full of tall buildings. I hope Kuala Lumpur continues to grow as a metropolitan hub, contributing to the world. This sentiment reveals the core motivation. Skyscrapers were not just buildings. They were benchmarks of progress, a way to measure the nation's journey towards its developed status. No project embodies this era of ambition more than the Petronas Twin Towers. Completed in 1998, they were the undisputed centerpiece of the Kuala Lumpur City Centre, KLCC, a massive 100-acre government-sponsored project to create a city within a city on the site of a former horse racing track. The political imperative behind the towers was explicit. The project was a cornerstone of Vision 2020 and a key component of the Multimedia Super Corridor, a 50-kilometre-long high-tech zone designed to transform Malaysia into a global leader in information technology. The goal, as stated by developers working with the government, was to create a landmark that would unequivocally establish Kuala Lumpur's prominence as a major commercial and cultural capital. The architectural saga that followed was a story of global collaboration in service of a national identity. After an international competition, the design was awarded to the acclaimed Argentine-American architect Cesar Pelli. Pelli faced a unique challenge: how to design a modern icon for a country that was distinctively Malaysian, yet had no indigenous tradition of skyscraper architecture. His solution was a masterstroke of postmodern design. The floor plate of each tower is based on the Rub el-Hizb, an 8-pointed Islamic star created by 2 interlocking squares. This geometric motif, said to symbolize unity, harmony, and rationality, allowed Pelli to root the structure in Malaysia's Islamic heritage while creating a sleek, futuristic form. As Pelly himself noted, the goal was to create a building that is looking towards the future, but with roots in the past. The construction itself was a monumental feat of engineering and a compelling drama. The site was geologically challenging, sitting on a cliff edge with one half made of decayed limestone and the other of soft rock. The entire site had to be moved 61 meters to sit fully on the more stable soft rock. This required the world's deepest foundations at the time, with 104 concrete piles bored up to 114 meters into the ground. The foundation for each tower involved a continuous 54-hour concrete pour of 13,200 cubic meters, a world record that stood for years. In a pragmatic economic decision driven by the high cost of importing steel, the towers were constructed primarily from a cheaper, high-strength reinforced concrete. The construction was famously organized as a race between two consortiums, a Japanese team led by Hazama Corporation for Tower 1 and a South Korean team from Samsung C&T for Tower 2. The first to finish would win the right to build the iconic Skybridge. The South Korean crew claimed victory, completing their tower first. Upon their completion, the Petronas Towers were the tallest buildings in the world, a title they held from 1998 to 2004. Their impact was immediate and profound. They became an instant global icon, a harbinger of the power of globalization that literally put Kuala Lumpur on the map. The towers became a major tourist attraction, drawing over 1.5 million visitors annually, and successfully lured major international corporations like Microsoft, IBM, and Boeing to lease space in Tower 2, fulfilling a key objective of the MSC. The project revealed a key strategy of developmental states, using state-owned enterprises and state-directed capital to fund soft infrastructure, symbols that generate national pride and global recognition. This, in turn, attracts the foreign investment needed to fuel the hard infrastructure of economic growth. The Petronas Towers were more than just office space. They were a multi-billion-dollar advertisement for Malaysia, Inc. The state didn't wait for the market to build an icon. It proactively created one using its most profitable enterprise, Petronas. This was a calculated investment in national branding, signaling to the world that Malaysia was open for business, technologically capable, and a stable place for investment, a physical anchor for an intangible economic and political vision. While national ambition set the stage, a powerful combination of urban pressure and state-channeled finance created the modern blueprint for Malaysia's vertical growth. The drive to build skyward is not just a story of political will. It's also a story of economic logic and institutional power. Kuala Lumpur is one of the fastest-growing metropolitan regions in Southeast Asia. The population of Greater Kuala Lumpur, also known as the Klang Valley, swelled from approximately 2.1 million in 1990 to nearly 6 million by 2009 and is estimated to be 8.8 million in 2024. During that initial period, the city's geographic footprint more than doubled, expanding from 621 to 1,555 square kilometers. This rapid expansion, often described as urban sprawl, created a mini Los Angeles effect, characterized by a car-centric culture and an exceptionally dense network of tolled expressways. This sprawl, coupled with intense economic activity, put immense pressure on land in the city center. Land prices skyrocketed. By 2010, a prime site in the KLCC area was transacted at a record price of over 7,200 ringgit per square foot. Even in adjacent heritage areas like Kampong Baru, land was valued at as high as 4,000 ringgit per square foot. With land becoming an increasingly scarce and expensive commodity, building vertically became the most economically rational path for developers. High-density development allows the high cost of land to be spread across more saleable or leasable units, making projects financially viable. Fueling this vertical development is a unique financial engine: Malaysia's government-linked investment companies, GLICs. These are not typical private developers. They are massive state-owned funds like Khazanah Nasional and, most importantly for our story, Permadalan Nasional Berhad, PNB. GLICs operate under a dual mandate. Their primary goal is to generate returns for public funds, managing the retirement savings of millions of Malaysians through entities like the Employees Provident Fund, EPF, and PNB's unit trust schemes. However, they are also tasked with supporting national development goals. This unique structure means their investment decisions are often guided by national strategy as much as by pure profit. PNB is a financial behemoth. Established in 1978 to help achieve the goals of the new economic policy, its core mission is to enhance the economic wealth of the Bumiputera community and all Malaysians. It is one of the largest fund managers in the country, controlling an estimated 10 to 15% of the Malaysian stock exchange and holding major stakes in corporate giants like Maybank and Sime Darby Property. This immense financial power allows PNB to undertake mega projects on a scale that few private developers could contemplate. The most dramatic example of a GLIC shaping the modern skyline is Merdeka 118. Standing at a colossal 678.9 meters, it is the second tallest building in the world. The project was fully funded by PNB, with an estimated cost of 5 billion ringgit, a direct investment of the nation's savings into a new national icon. The symbolism of Merdeka 118 is even more direct and potent than that of the Petronas Towers. Its unique, neo-futurist design, conceived by Australian firm Fender Katsalidis, is a literal tribute to a singular, foundational moment in Malaysian history. The silhouette of the nation's first Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman, with his hand outstretched as he triumphantly chanted Merdeka, independence, 7 times at the adjacent Stadium Merdeka in 1957. The building's facade, composed of 18,144 diamond-shaped glass panels, is meant to signify the diversity of Malaysians, unified in a single, upward-reaching form. It is not just a building, but the anchor of the Merdeka 118 precinct, a sprawling mixed-use development that includes a luxury hotel, a 7-story shopping mall, and public parks, all designed to create a new global icon and vibrant community hub. Furthermore, Merdeka 118 is a showcase of modern, sustainable construction. It is the first building in Malaysia to receive a triple platinum rating from the world's leading green building certifications, LEED, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, GBI, Green Building Index, and Green RE. The evolution in symbolism from the Petronas Towers to Merdeka 118 reflects a maturation in Malaysia's national narrative. If Petronas was about announcing Malaysia's arrival on the global economic stage using a more universal language of modernism and cultural motifs, Merdeka 118 is a more introspective and confident assertion of its own national history and identity. The message is directed as much inward to its own people as it is outward. In the 1990s, the goal was to say, "We are here." By the 2000s and 20s, the goal is to say, "This is who we are." The fact that it was funded by PNB, a domestic savings institution, further reinforces this theme of self-reliance and national pride. This tale of 2 towers, built a quarter-century apart, encapsulates the evolution of Malaysia's skyscraper story. The first was an outward-looking statement of economic arrival funded by oil wealth. The second is an inward-looking monument to national history, funded by the people's savings. Together, they explain how and why Malaysia's skyline reached such extraordinary heights. This combination of state-led ambition and immense urban pressure created a seemingly unstoppable engine for vertical growth. But every engine produces exhaust. And as Malaysia's skyline grew taller, the shadows it cast grew longer, revealing a series of deep-seated risks and contradictions that challenge the narrative of unbridled progress. The central economic contradiction of Malaysia's skyscraper boom is the growing mismatch between supply and demand. Despite the furious pace of construction, the market has struggled to absorb the vast new inventory of space. According to property consultancy Knight Frank, Kuala Lumpur's prime office vacancy rate stood at a staggering 24.6% in the first quarter of 2025. While this figure has shown some signs of stabilizing, it remains among the highest in the Asia-Pacific region, and the market is described as heavily tenant-leaning, meaning landlords have little power to raise rents. This oversupply issue, often termed a property glut, is not expected to resolve quickly. New office developments are projected to add another 2.5 million square feet of space in 2025 alone, with millions more in the pipeline through 2027, ensuring that competition for tenants will remain fierce and rental growth subdued. The problem extends beyond offices to the residential sector. For years, the Malaysian property market has been characterized by sluggish sales and a large, rising stock of unsold homes, particularly in the high-end condominium and serviced apartment segments. Analysts have identified this as a potential property bubble, fueled by a decade of aggressive bank lending for mortgages and speculative building by developers. The relentless drive for urban redevelopment has come at a significant human cost, exacerbating social divides and threatening the fabric of historic communities. The most prominent example is Kampung Baru, a historic Malay enclave established over a century ago, now an island of traditional low-rise homes surrounded by the gleaming skyscrapers of central Kuala Lumpur. For decades, residents have faced immense pressure to sell their land for redevelopment. They have largely resisted, arguing that the compensation offered is grossly inadequate. In one instance, an offer of 850 ringgit per square foot for land in an area where neighbouring plots command prices as high as 4,000 ringgit per square foot. Residents fear not only financial loss, but also physical displacement and the erosion of their cultural identity as their community is encircled by high-cost, high-rise developments they could never afford. This is a classic story of gentrification, where the pursuit of urban renewal displaces long-standing, lower-income communities. The issue is not confined to heritage sites. Across the city, the high cost of property has created a severe affordability crisis. Between 1990 and 2019, average home prices in Malaysia increased by a staggering 5.6 times, far outpacing income growth. This has made home ownership an elusive dream for many, especially young workers and those in lower income brackets, creating what one analysis calls a class division between the landlords and the tenants. These negative consequences have not gone unnoticed. A growing chorus of dissenting voices has begun to question the wisdom of prioritizing monumental projects. Critics have labeled some developments as vanity projects, born from poor urban planning rather than genuine need. This sentiment has reached the highest levels of government. In August 2024, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim declared that expensive tall buildings will no longer be a priority for his administration. He argued that the government should instead focus on initiatives that serve and respect the people, such as improving public housing and maintaining the cleanliness of small, local eateries where the majority of citizens spend their time. The skyscraper boom in Malaysia thus exemplifies a core tension of the developmental state model. The macro-level pursuit of national prestige and economic growth has often created micro-level social and economic dislocations. The skyline is a monument to success, but its shadow conceals the persistent problems of oversupply, inequality, and displacement, creating a prosperity that feels, for many, fragile and inequitable. The government's recent pivot away from prioritizing skyscrapers may signal a fundamental and necessary shift in Malaysia's development philosophy.